What's the motherfucking deal? Ignore all them other things that popped up. But as y'all can see, some of the shit that already shook. What's the motherfucking deal, man? Welcome to Sauce Sports. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports, Sauce Sports is Houston, Texas Homer network. Maybe talking all sports, but only Houston. Sorry about the slight delay. We're trying to get a couple of things in order for the Rockets action. It's been a minute since we didn't been in it for the Rockets conversation. Hold on, we have a little bit of technicalities here. Hold on, I think we should be back in action. Let's get this. There we go. Okay, there we go. But again, I'm your host, Ed Honcho, and this is the Rockets Pregame tonight. We have two members of the round table joining us this evening. Who do we have in the mix with us tonight?
You got your boy Third Coast Sports QB, Wink in the building.
You got your boy Wise. Trying to get to 400. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to me.
Hell yeah, I'm trying to get to this 1,000. I just started monetizing yesterday.
That's a bet. So here's the deal, man. Like I said, we got plenty of shit to talk about tonight. It's Rockets action, first game of the season, man, and it is what it is. Finally, the Astros, not saying that the Astros ain't a winning team. We finally get to talk about a team that is winning in the city that I know a little something about. And it's good, to be fucking with somebody who is, Racer X, I appreciate the love, man. It got the sauce started off early, man. Appreciate the love. So here is the deal, man. Here is the deal. Motherfucking Rockets, one of the two professional organizations that ain't afraid to go out on a limb and try to do something for the city. We've been talking about that other franchise off Kirby for so long. It's been sad. It's been a little depressing because, they're not out there engaged in activities that could enhance the team. But we talking about the Rockets, man. They went out in this offseason and they made a lot of moves, man. And they did some things to improve this team. And we're going to talk about all the important things they did to improve this team. But before we talk about that, we got to talk about the most important thing happening tonight. We're not talking about the Astros game. We're not talking about the Rockets game. We're talking about you, Sauce Nation, man, because we appreciate y'all tuning in each and every night and showing love, stirring up the flavor. So we're going to see what we have joining us this evening, and then we're going to get in it to win it. So I see T-Mac, I see Naveed, I see DeMarcus, Titans Up, Alex, Balin, Joshua, the nigga who could, Hector Rodriguez, Tom Ball representing already, Salvador, Racer X, man, appreciate the love again. And City of Alvin in the house already. Alvin representing. And everybody's still in Sauce Walker Flow. It's sad. But again, I appreciate y'all joining us, man. Like I said, we got plenty to talk about tonight. And I think it's going to be very interesting. But like I say, to dive into it, man, because I know we're a few minutes late, so we got to make sure we get everything connected and I'll get the bank activated for y'all. The Rockets are taking on the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. Now, the Pelicans were also negated by the same team that knocked us out the playoffs last year. We played the Pelicans several times last year and were the reason that, one, DeMarcus Cousins was not able to continue the year, and that's why he hopped hoods and jumped over to Golden State with his old fraud ass. But again, looking into it, we're going to talk about some of the things that the Rockets have done to improve as a team. Even though the national media will still continue to tell you that, the Rockets aren't contenders. They tell you that we're the fourth best team in the NBA. They're telling you all this. So, they talk about guys who left like Muthaf and Trevor, but never talked about those guys while they were here. But somehow now, once people leave Houston, we talk about this with all the teams. When players leave Houston, all of a sudden they become big household names. But when they're here, they're not relevant. They're not impacting the game. They're not anything important. They can't do anything. But again, the Rockets addressed those moves. People act like they didn't. But let's kind of get into it, man. First and foremost, looking at this New Orleans team, they made a few moves themselves. But I don't know if they necessarily improved because you lose a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. He was a contributor, double-double guy, putting up great numbers, having a historic season before he went down against the Rockets. Last year we played them 4 times, took 3 of the 4 games, and the one I believe was a matter of a couple of points. I forgot what it came down to that game. But again, just kind of looking at these rosters, kind of looking at what the Rockets got. We'll start with Wise, man. What do you feel, looking at this Pelicans team, what is going to be the biggest threat to the Rockets tonight?
This guy Anthony Davis, it don't matter if we beat the Pelicans every time. This guy always put up 40 points. He put up 20 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, a couple steals. You just can't contain this man, Anthony Davis, man. He gonna get his team is trash. The guys around him are trash. They did pick up a guy in Julius Randle. Julius Randle can make some shots. He can hustle on the defensive end of the ball, but he don't got shooters surrounded by him. So that's why he wants to leave that situation, and that's why you're hearing all the trade rumors about Anthony Davis going to go to Boston, Anthony Davis going to go here, there, and all these type of things. But that's going to be the main focus tonight is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, you're going to hear tomorrow in the national media, they're going to talk about how Anthony Davis had a big game and things like that, but the Rockets going to win this game by 20 points.
And like I say, some of the guys they picked up, they went and scooped former Orlando weird hair guy, Elfrid Payton. They went and picked up, what's his name, Julius Randle. And then they got Mirotic too. So, again, a couple of solid names to add to the roster. But, again, these aren't guys that are going to make them instant contenders with the Rockets. Man, what do you feel is going to be the big conversation coming out of this game tonight, Wink?
Exactly. In terms of the Pelicans, man, I really think it's just going to be not only Anthony Davis's play, but it's also going to be, storylines for later on if this man chooses to leave the team. Because if he leaves the team, the speculation is going to be, where is he going to go? There's so many teams in the West because I really don't see him going to the East, you know what I'm saying, and going through all that suffrage that they have to go through out on those parts. He's going to carry his team, hopefully he stays healthy, and that he can still ensure that, the Pelicans could be a legitimate contender this year. Because let's just be frank, he's all the reason why they're notable in the first place. So it's going to be a good game, for the first night, and it's going to gauge right off the bat where the Rockets are standing and how D'Antoni chooses to have his team look this year.
One of the big notes, the big conversation coming into this game, and prior to this game, all off season, it took a while. It took some wheeling and dealing to make it happen. It took a couple of teams to get involved. But Carmelo Anthony is a Rocket. This will be his first official game as a Rocket. We saw him in the preseason. He was looking good in the preseason, dropping buckets, looking like he was happy to be where he was. The last couple of years, in New York and OKC, he didn't necessarily look like those were places where he wanted to exist. Those are places where he wanted to play, I think there's a Russell Westbrook effect. I always say that, you see when guys leave Russell Westbrook that they go on and they thrive. They go on and they have better seasons than they did when they were playing with OKC. You've seen it from KD. You've seen it from Oladipo. Buddy, I forgot whoever left with Oladipo. I can't ever remember his damn name. But you see all these guys leave and become leaders on their teams or whatever it may be. But people say, oh, well, Russ has never had help. Russ has never had help. I'm surprised Paul George even stayed anyway, but that's a whole nother conversation. Let's take a look at Carmelo, man. Carmelo is coming to Houston. People said, oh, well, he won't fit in because him and D'Antoni got beef. Him and D'Antoni squashed the beef. No problem. Carmelo's a ball hog. He's a ball stopper. He's came in this league. He's came to this team, and so far in the preseason looking good, like he's fitting in the system. He has no problem shooting, but hey, he still has some Carmelo ways, but that's good because I don't want him to get completely away from Carmelo because we saw that in that series last year against Golden State that we didn't have guys who had a solid mid-range game. The Rockets so much about threes and layups, that mid-range gets negated, but when you have Chris Paul go out because he was about the only guy who had the leash to do so, you lost a lot. You start missing out on a lot of things. So my thing is this. With the addition of Carmelo being okay coming off the bench as a sixth man, how do you feel like that's going to impact the team overall, Wink? And then we'll get your thoughts on that same question, Wise.
It's the most perfect situation for this basketball team for a couple of reasons. Number one is the health factor. You keep the entire team healthy in a sense, and the rotations are going to be paramount throughout the entire season. It just depends on, who you're going to run. If you're going to run a small or a big front, he's going to be able to mesh on each side. And it's just like you said, man, this mid-range game should be lethal with him. And I don't really see him having too many nights where he's really off. And if he is, I really feel like guys like Harden, Capella can step it up, in the post game. Hopefully, he takes his game to another level this season. And we all know CP3 is going to be a dog all over the court. I think with him, he's going to continue to do like how he did last year, hold dudes accountable, make sure they're giving their all, because he's going to get a team everything. And the fact that Carmelo is in a situation where he knows he can win, like in Carmelo's mind, he can't say, and most basketball fans who regardless of who they are fans of a team of, you can't say that the best two teams in the NBA are not the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. It's not even close. Like the way both rosters are constructed at this moment, you know what I'm saying? It's just that it's going to be totally dependent upon the players. And Carmelo Anthony is going to get his team, I think, if not a bigger edge than CP3 gave us last year. And having all of that chemistry on the field, especially if they out there and they having fun, because he knows this is his last hurrah. So it would be in his best interest to make sure that he's in the best position. He knows exactly what he's going to do, which I think they've already put in place. It's no surprises the way that it was with OKC. And at the end of the day, he has players who can finish the game. So I think it's the best situation for him and his family. He's still getting a nice amount of money. And in any other situation to go to any other team if he can't get it done over the next couple of years.
Oh, I'm still muted there. Wiseman, your thoughts on Carmelo Anthony being okay with coming off the bench as opposed to all the shit that the national media said, you know, well, he didn't want to come off the bench in OKC and he didn't, you know, he wouldn't do this and that and the third. But now we've seen all the things that they said wouldn't happen, that he wouldn't get along with D'Antoni. He wouldn't come off the bench. He'd slow down this offense, all these things that we've seen through the preseason up until this point so far, that those have all been lies. Your thoughts on Carmelo and what he's contributing to this team starting tonight?
Well, he brings a different dynamic to this team. This guy wouldn't have chose to come here if he had a beef with D'Antoni. He wouldn't have chose to come here if he wasn't comfortable with being in the position that he is in today. So for people to go and say that, it makes no sense to me. But anyways, when I see guys come to the Rockets, they come to an offense where the ball is always moving. You see Gerald Green come off his couch at home and just ball out. You seen Eric Gordon step up. You've seen all these guys. Mabute, nobody was talking about Mabute at the Clippers. He came to Houston, he made a name for himself. So I think when you play in this Houston offense, you have the opportunity to have fun. You get to have those days like playing as a kid in at the basketball court in Rutgers for Carmelo. He thinks of those days. So this guy's still going to have the touches. He's still going to have the same opportunities to play the same amount of minutes. He's going to be able to play with Chris Paul, who's his best friend. He's going to be able to play with James Harden. And these guys have been playing with each other since last offseason, to be honest. The past two offseasons, they've been working out together. The past two offseasons, they've been running scrimmages together. So for people just to say that this thing isn't going to work out is blasphemy to me. But Carmelo has the opportunity to play the 2 position, the 3 position, the 4 position, the 5 position. This guy can play any position on the court except for point guard because he needs somebody that can get him the ball. And I feel like he never had that in his career. The only point guard this guy really had in his career was Chauncey Billups, and that was at the end of Chauncey Billups' career.
Yeah.
I think the reason why people try to bash Carmelo Anthony is because he was with New York and he really didn't do anything while he was in New York. But that was due to the ownership. That was due to James Dolan. That was due to Phil Jackson not giving a fuck. Phil Jackson didn't want to give this guy the pieces to surround him. So I guess they just hate him on that because I remember Carmelo Anthony when he was balling out with the Nuggets. I remember Carmelo Anthony when he had shoes on the market.
Yeah.
Valid points about this situation in New York. And again, you know, 1, New York fans are irrational. Number 2, you know, that Phil Jackson is overrated because the thing about Phil Jackson is this, man. You know, what has he done without having one of the all-time greats on his team? Nothing. And then people just act like he knows exactly what he's talking about. People just feel like he knows everything. You know, again, he wasn't able to get it done there with Carmelo there. He down-talked Carmelo, he devalued Carmelo. And so, I mean, people just eat up anything that certain people say because of shit they did a long time ago. But again, it is what it is. Now, another guy that I want to talk about because a lot of people were questioning whether he would start or whether Carmelo would start because, again, a lot of the rest of the league underestimates the value of one P.J. Tucker. and the defense that he plays, the offense that he can bring when necessary. Because we saw him coming in the Western Conference Finals when he was underestimated. I mean, he shot threes, he hit that corner three, gave you the same thing Ariza could give you, if not more. Because I think he almost played more aggressive defense consistently. He was healthier than Ariza was, and so people made a big deal about Ariza leaving, and then the Rockets go and pick up James Ennis, and I think he gives you everything Ariza gave you, maybe a little bit less scoring. And the only reason a little bit less scoring is because he didn't have the opportunities on the teams that he was on to score like that. Tony basically told him, hey, you got the green light, just like Gerald Green has the green light. Anybody else has the green light to go ahead and score. But let's talk about P.J. Tucker for a second, Wise, man. I want you to tell the people, what does he bring to this team, and, what do you expect to see from him tonight?
P.J. Tucker is the defensive anchor. He's one of the leaders behind James Harden and Chris Paul. He brings the force to the shot. He brings the swagger to the shot. He don't only got the best shooter in the league, but ain't nobody gonna test P.J. Tucker. We seen Draymond doing against that Warriors series last week. This guy didn't want to step up to P.J. Tucker. This guy's gonna hustle. He's gonna drive for rebounds, going out of bounds. He's gonna go play defense on the best offensive player on that. He can hold the LeBron. He can hold the center position. He can hold the power forward position. He can do all the dirty work for you. That's why I like P.J. Tucker. And he's exceptional at hitting that corner three. And that corner three is very pivotal for the Rockets because when you have a guy like James Harden who likes to drive to the basket, teams usually double team him, and the first guy he sees in the corner is P.J. Tucker, so he gets his foul and P.J. takes shots for the Rockets.
Absolutely.
All right. Your thoughts on P.J. Tucker, Wink?
Man, that dude got hard, man. I watched this dude dominating the paint against the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? Just getting up, going out to get it. You know what I'm saying? He was coming up. He was clutch when you needed him. You know what I'm saying? It sucks that, a guy like Eric Gordon got away. But at the end of the day, I think a guy like him, he still makes up, for any loss that you could have. And with having, the team assembled the way that they are, with them guys, making the moves that they made, I think he's still going to be in the best position to probably, who's to say just because Carmelo's on his team, he still won't be in position to be a sixth man of the year or something like that. I really think a guy like that with the pieces and just the scheme that they're going to end up running, it's not really out of the picture. This man, when we saw the way that this man was going up and give rebounds, he ain't scared of nobody. You're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? Going up with this man, he brings a level of toughness. You know what I'm saying? And, he does not quit on plays. And I think that's what, when you see somebody like that on your team, that shit don't do nothing but just increase your ferociousness, and with a couple of guys that we did let get away because, I was kind of sad, about Ariza leaving, but because he brings a lot to this team, well, he did. But like I say, these guys are going to end up putting it in place. If everybody stays healthy, at least mostly, throughout the season, I think everything will be all right and we'll end up being final, we'll be champions this year. And it'll be long overdue. 24 years is a long time.
Absolutely. Now, the thing that I want to talk about is, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about the Pelicans and what they, what threat they pose. But with Carmelo being the guy, first man coming off the bench, being the sixth man, being that dude, and knowing that the Rockets, the way they built their roster, now they legitimately have almost two starting teams, picking up Michael Carter-Williams. I almost forgot about Brandon Knight. Is he injured still, or is he available? Was Brandon? Didn't he get it? No. Okay. He's still. But again, so these guys have gone and got some names that are a little bit notable around the league and things like that. But Michael Carter-Williams has looked good in the preseason. I think he had a couple of games of double-digit points. If you coming off the bench, he can give us something. But looking at Carmelo being the sixth man now, what does that do for Eric Gordon, who's a guy who averaged 18 points a game last year? Wasn't the best on defense, but he was able to, on some nights, to really turn on. Some nights he would disappear a little bit, but a couple of times he came through when we really needed him. So how is the effect of Carmelo going to impact, Eric Gordon's game? Because him being a former six man of the year and then six man of the year runner up last year. How do you feel that's going to impact him with Carmelo being the first man off the bench now, Wink?
I don't really think it's going to really impact him that much at all. Honestly, everybody's going to be able to eat. And that's why I'm saying it just depends on D'Antoni and when he wants to rotate guys in and out of the lineup. I mean, he can fit into any lineup you need him to go into. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anybody goes down, he'd be able to start. You know, if not, you know, he's going to be able to take up any slack and he'll be able to hit some big shots, as you said. You know, and he's a guy that you can count on. You know, if some of the, you know, like if Harden and CP3 are off, and now Melo, you can expect a guy like him and Melo to pick up the slack. You know, so it's really a beautiful situation for us to be in. You know, so I mean, what's the weakness of this team? I don't really see any. I mean, maybe behind Capella, you could say, I mean, with the name of other guys who are getting a little long in the tooth. But outside of that, I mean, what really, I can't say that this team really has any holes. They're going to be able to press the action. I can't wait to see what the defense looks like this year, because the fact that I think that's going to be one of the best things to see from this team is when everybody just comes in, and if a guy like James Harden can step his defense up dramatically in a year's time with CP3 and having you know, D'Antoni coaching, I don't see any reason why a lot of other guys won't pick the team up, because that was the stigma that they were saying last year. They didn't expect this team to be as clamped down on defense the way that they were. But, you know, it's just one of those things. But we're gonna have to wait and see. You know, we believe in this. We believe in this basketball team. I know they're gonna end up doing 3 great things, and I don't see them laying down for the Warriors, regardless who's in the lineup this year.
Yeah, you ain't lying, Lord boy. There's no love for the Rockets, even though they are better than Texas. You know, that's just kind of how it is. That's how Houston is. They, you know, the Astros only got started getting that love because they, you know, started winning and they took the World Series. It's gonna take the Rockets doing the same thing before the city gets behind them, man. So it is what it is. But your thoughts on that one, Wise man? You know, with Carmelo being the 6th man technically now, how is that going to impact him and how is that going to impact Eric Gordon?
I don't think it's going to impact Eric Gordon in a negative way. I mean, I can see it being a positive for Eric Gordon because it spaces out the floor even more. And you know that Eric Gordon likes to see him damn near half-court shot threes, and this guy has one of the quickest three-point shot releases in the game. So I think having Carmelo out there, teams can't double-team Eric Gordon, because I've seen teams try to double-team Eric Gordon last season, especially with that second unit, because Eric Gordon is, believe it or not, Eric Gordon is a threat. This guy's an all-star. This guy has been an all-star in the league before. He's been averaged 23 or 24 points a game. So you can expect both of these guys sitting outside, and that second unit is scary, man. Because you got Michael Carter Williams, whenever Brandon Knight comes back, you got him. You got Marquise Chris. All these guys can shoot threes. You got Gerald Green. I mean, it's so many guys. This second unit for the Rockets is like a starting unit for most of the teams in the NBA right now, and that brings a different dynamic to this team, and that adds depth to this team, and that's pivotal in the playoffs. That's pivotal throughout the season, because we've seen this team go out with injuries last season. We've seen CP3 miss 40 games. We've seen Harden miss about 20 games last season. I mean, not 20, but like 10 to 12 games last season. So when those guys are hurting with like Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, I was just doing my business.
All right. Again, so like I say, the Rockets have gotten deeper, in my opinion. The national media says not so much. Again, you know, with the additions of Ennis, with the addition of Melo, Knight, Carter Williams, picked up a young Isaiah Hardenstein, Marquise Chris, you know, a lot of new names on this roster. Let's be realistic, though. Like, what do you think was the biggest, even though it may not have been the biggest impact, but what was the biggest loss that the Rockets did take transitioning from last year to this year? Your thoughts on that one, Wise?
I don't think they took a loss. Me personally, okay, yeah, they did take a loss. They lost Jeff Bezdelek. the defensive coach. I mean, that was a pivotal guy that's helped improve the team's defense over the last 2 years. He was a huge part in improving James Harden's defense. And this guy, he gave Mike D'Antoni basically the stimulus package in order to succeed at defense. Because everybody used to talk about how Mike D'Antoni is weak, how Mike D'Antoni is only offensive minded. But we've seen that different identity with the Houston Rockets the last 2 seasons. Seen them ranked top 10 in defense the last 2 seasons, and I look for them to actually improve that this season because they do have the guy that was the defensive coach for the Boston Celtics, and Paul Pierce and guys like that.
I think that's a very valid point that you made too, because not necessarily had to be a player. You're talking about a guy who was still a contributor, because Jeff was, and I can't never say his name, so I ain't even gonna try. But again, it was, I think, changed that culture of the Rockets. Along with CP3, along with say don't pillow talk, pushing the agenda out here. Yeah, man, I've been telling boys about that for a long time. The pillow talk, like I say, they crumble the empire, but that's a whole nother conversation. We'll have to talk about that in the den. But like I say, but I think that. Yeah, there still will be some carryover of what he brought to the Rockets. You know what I mean? I think that there will still be something, because I forgot who his assistant was. And so the Rockets say they're not concerned about losing anything on defense. And with a guy like CP3 on that roster, he's going to make sure things stay at the same level of intensity that it was last year. Because, like, again, you got guys that are hungry, and I think that hunger is most important. With Harden, hungry. He's been there, been close too many times in that Western Conference Finals. Carmelo Anthony not ever really having a team around him that can compete and get him there to the big stage, and getting it towards the latter years of his career. Same thing with CP3, latter years of his career, really hungry, really wanting to win it. So I think that these things are very impactful, so I don't think that they'll take too much of a slack on that. But Wink, your thoughts, man, on what was the biggest loss that the Rockets took in the offseason?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a loss, because we did get Carmelo. We were able to make sure. But could you imagine what this team would be looking like right now if we'd have found some way to keep Ariza? Like, I mean, a guy like Ariza, man, paired up with PJ Tucker, bro, with that attitude, bro. That boy got that, man. I used to love watching Ariza play. Like, it wasn't always often when I would go ahead when I watch a Rockets game, but it was something about from the way that this man, I've been seeing him, I've been watching this man play for years, and he just got something, man, and he ain't afraid to do it. He ain't afraid to talk shit. He ain't afraid to go ahead and light your ass up on the court. He could play defense. He could do everything that we're saying. But one point right before you went ahead and you came back to me, Honcho, that I do want to say, it's almost looking it's kind of, not that this team is old, but think of 2 of the 3 superstars that we have on this on this team, or like you said, in the latter years of their career. It's almost the same when Drexler, Drexler, Hakeem, Kenny Smith, all them boys, man, they were about like in their early 30s. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had played a lot of basketball. You know what I'm saying? Up until that point, and it's almost looking like it could be that situation. Definitely be keeping my eyes on when I'm watching this team. We're not really worried about what the national media is going to be saying about this team, because that's why y'all have Sauce Nation. We'll make sure that y'all getting the right news first. And we're going to speak about this team intelligently and criticize the team when they're doing bad. You know what I'm saying? Because it's always an extra point. So they just won in the NBA Finals this year.
Already. And there's a very good point that, with that kind of age as it being an issue, that thing being a thing. Y'all give me 1 second. I'm going to do something real quick here. A little bit of a I don't know why this thing, because I got one for Wink Up. I don't know why it's not coming back up because I got everybody a little tag, but for some reason that one ain't showing. I don't know if the screen action is off. Let me fix that. But
What?
So here's the deal.
Was it like a staticky noise or something? Oh.
No, it was just picking up an echo. But I'm saying I have a little thing. Everybody's name shows up on the thing, and for some reason yours is not coming up. I don't know if it's got slid off the screen. Let me tweak that real quick. But again, so here's the deal. Oh, that's not the one we want to use. But here's the deal. You know, looking at these Rockets, I was way up here and shit. Okay, let's fix that. You know, looking at these Rockets versus these Pelicans. The Pelicans are not necessarily a trash team because of a guy like Anthony Davis who was in the consideration. He was a guy that they talked about in that MVP race, you know, because every year it seems like they try to find some way, somehow to steal it from Harden, because he's always in the conversation. The last 4 or 5 years he's been in the conversation for MVP. Finally got it, and now people are already talking about they have voter fatigue for Harden. Like, how do you have voter fatigue for Harden when y'all ain't even gave it to him? Like, I can understand that with LeBron. I can understand that with some of these other guys. Oh, we got voter fatigue for Harden. Y'all, how? Because y'all never gave it to him. Like, y'all would have thought you'd had it for Curry, because what has he done? He's done nothing but be able to ride a super talented team around him and make stuff look good. Like, but yet somehow, some way, it's always Harden. I don't know, the way he plays. It's kind of boring. But speaking of boring, you know, even though Harden had some of the best drops on anybody last year, and that's what I want to bring up, because Wesley Johnson is now has gone from the Clippers to the Pelicans. And I don't know if y'all remember what happened between Harden and Wesley Johnson last year, but it was, even though I think they tried to make it number 2 and try to give Kyrie or somebody number 1 player or whatever. The play where Harden dropped that man, looked at him, figured out an Einstein math problem, calculated the weather for the next couple of weeks, licked his lips, and still dropped the 3 on him. That was to me, the nastiest play of the year last year. Now this man is a Pelican. So I'd like to know your thoughts on Wesley Johnson, because we're definitely going to see some Johnson on Harden this year. You know, your thoughts on Wesley Johnson, and will we see a situation like that again, or is Harden or Johnson going to try to do his very best not to get caught in another trap like that? What are your thoughts on that one, Wise?
If I was Wesley Johnson, I would never ever go across from this man James Harden. I'll tell coach, sit my ass down on the bench. I'm not playing this man James Harden. When James Harden would have crossed me up, I would have stolen him in the face, because the fact that James Harden sat there, stared him down, licked his lips, readjusted the ball, and then shot the 3 and made it, and then yelled at him up and down the court. That's a whole different disrespect, man. That's a whole level of disrespect, different level of disrespect. But I love it. If you want to go to the Pelicans and we play these guys 4 times a year, shit, I love to see James Harden making highlight reels. And if that guy wants to hold James Harden and Alvin Gentry wants to put him against James Harden and CP3, well, we're gonna put him on the top 5 of sports center once again.
Stole off on James.
I would. That's too disrespectful.
Yeah, that shit was disrespectful to the bit, man. Wait, man, your thoughts on Wesley Johnson having to guard James Harden tonight? Do you expect to see something? I'm not saying it was as great as that was, but do you expect to see something similar?
Man, when you can do a man like when you can do a man like that, it's you're not safe from anything, bro. It's so different than what D-Hop does on a week in, week out basis with these corners in the league, bro. Like, at the end of the day, bro, he's gonna treat him like a hoe until he decides to grow up and man up on the court, man. So, I mean, it's gonna be a fun matchup to see, because if he does something, and it's not like this is gonna be the only time he's gonna play this man. He's gonna play him like 3 to 4 other times this season. So we'll end up, but if he does it every game, and if he just makes it a point to just make him embarrass him every game, then that's just going to say something about it, and that's just going to be a matchup that guys are going to have to highlight. You know, it's a good matchup regardless.
I got a little poll action for y'all there. So I see some folks having a debate on which was worse, the Draymond dunk, or when Harden dunked on Draymond, or the Wesley Johnson, and that's definitely a very good one. I mean, so I'd like to know your thoughts on that one. So when you vote, make sure you put exclamation point vote space and then put your number, so that way your vote will register. But yeah, that's definitely a very interesting conversation. I don't know, man. I guess if we talking regular season, I'm gonna give it to Wesley. But if you talking playoffs, you know, I'm trying to find a way to divide and give them both their credit.
I think Draymond was worse because Draymond is a higher, you know, he's at a higher tier. And the fact that, let's just be real, a couple of years ago, we were saying that Draymond was the soul, you know, was the guy he was the glue that held this team together. You know, he was the one who gave this team an identity, even though Steph was getting all the pub because of the threes and setting the records and all of these types of things. And, you know, and they're going 73-9 or whatever the hell they went a couple of years ago. And it's just to say that for you to get whammed on like that, and Harden was treating this man like a hoe repeatedly in the playoffs. And I think that's why, for me personally, and he, like, literally James Harden was in this man's head so bad. Like, that Duval ended up making an Instagram video, and then when we won that game through, I want to say it was the third game that we ended up winning, when the ball got inbound and Curry had gave it to him. He fumbled the ball, and then, you know, he was trying to get it, and Duval was like, give it to Curry, give it to Curry, give it to... What the fuck? The fuck? You bitch. Like, it's just crazy, bro. And honestly, I don't think that those two players, James Harden, is gonna probably end up keying in on again. I just see like he just has them in a mind state, like mentally he's able to take them out of the game the way that some players are able to do. You know, I'm not sure entirely who takes James Harden off of his game when they face. It's something I'm gonna end up trying to catch up with and trying to find out this year. But like, clearly he's in both of them dudes' heads, and it ain't nothing they can do about it right now when he get cooking.
Okay, yeah, one of the dudes that I've seen take Draymond, something combining James Harden and Draymond. I used to have a partner named Draymond on the cool though, and it was a cold ass receiver. I ain't gonna lie about that, but. The guy that takes James off, well, James Ennis was one of those guys, and now he's on the run because James Ennis, I seen a game James Ennis had against James Harden, and look, he was locking him down. I'm like, shit. So I'm glad that he's on our side now, that we can use that, you know, as a weapon instead of a hindrance. But you made a good point when you're talking about their record, and that's something I want to discuss talking about these Rockets, man. I want to know, you know, 65 wins last year. Had a good run in the playoffs. Almost could have settled the situation, but, you know, ran into the Warriors without our second star player. Yet they try to validate the loss of Iguodala as comparable to Chris Paul, when y'all got all these other raggedy motherfuckers who are all stars. Iguodala wasn't even an all star and all that other shit, but y'all try to justify that. Wise, I want to know, honest opinion. Can the Rockets improve over their record last year this season?
I think they can, and they have the talent to do so. But I think they'll take it easy at the end of the season, going into the playoffs this year. Once they lock up that top two seeds in the Western Conference, they already know nobody messing with them in the playoffs. The only team they need to look forward to is the Golden State Warriors and dethroning them as the NBA champions, so they can go to the NBA Finals for the first time in 24 years. Like Wing said earlier, this team is getting older in age, so it's best to rest guys. I mean, you got a talented bench. I don't see why Brandon Knight couldn't start some games at the end of the season to give CP3 time to rest right before the playoffs. I don't see why Gerald Green can't start in place of James Harden for the last couple of games. That's what kind of hurt us going into the playoffs last season. We was going hard. We was playing these guys tough at the end of the season. Yeah, it helps with the momentum going into the playoffs. However, we did see a lot of injuries in the playoffs as well. So I think they might take it easy. That's the same thing that happened to the Warriors that year, where they tried to go win all those games and break the record, 73-9, and then they wound up losing the finals that year to LeBron. And the next year they came back and it was like, yeah, we ain't worried about winning all those games no more. So I think the Rockets might take a similar approach.
I know a big thing with them, though, is trying to secure that number 1 seed just to have that advantage like they had last year. But I think they have to look at it like shit that may not have planned out to their favor, but then it may have been the CP3 injury could have been a thing too. But I know that that Daryl Morey looks at that as a very important factor. Wink, your thoughts. Can the Rockets improve over last year's record? And if so, man, how many games?
Honestly, man, their ceiling for me, if everything is being coached right and they're being efficient on the court, 70 is their absolute high. You know, I probably could bump it down to about between 68 to 69, but I think their ultimate ceiling with the way that they construct it as of now is definitely 70 wins. I don't really think that that's out of I don't really think that's really that bad. I think the only courses you're really going to end up having to have is just knowing how the defense is going to end up looking. Outside of that, we know we got the scoring. I mean, obviously, and I think the chemistry. Once you see the chemistry factor, and I think it's only going to take between 20 to 30 games to really see where these guys are really going to mesh. And if you see within these first 30 games that these guys are getting this shit done by the end of, by the start of December, like this team should just be looking like they're on the path of really like getting that 1 seed where they should be locked up. Like it's no reason by the time March hits here that it's not a clear consensus that this team is the fucking team to beat. And that's just the way that I feel about this Rockets team as it stands of now.
Okay. Now here's the deal, man. Like I say, we're gonna drag up just a few minutes earlier so everybody have time to get into the game. But I want to get a couple of mark my words. Get somebody to mark my words. If you're not sure what mark my motherfucking words, if you're not sure what mark my motherfucking words is, just like with football, you got to make a bold prediction. You know what I'm saying? You got to give me a solid stat line. Don't give me James Harden's going to drop, 20 points and have 3 rebounds and, 4 assists. I want a bold motherfucking prediction. You got to go out on the line. And again, if whoever gets close, whoever has some good mark my motherfucking words, we're going to make sure we drop some sauce in a motherfucking bucket. Fuck it. And then go ahead and drop a little bit go ahead and give me some score predictions. Like I said, we kind of got a little limited amount of time, because I want to make sure give y'all a few minutes, everybody gets settled to catch the first game of the season. Then I know the Astros will be coming on about 7:40. So it'll be a good day for Houston because here's what's going to happen. Unlike with the Texans, the Rockets and Astros can play on the same day and get the wins. You know what I'm saying? But if the Texans get a win, they just drain all the rest of the energy out the city. Don't let nobody else have it. Saw something very interesting today because somebody tagged me in it. The Texans actually sent a shout out to the Rockets on Instagram. And I say, now we're gonna have to see if that love ever gets sent back because I don't recall again. But what it basically, I don't know. It was self promotion though because they sent some love to the Rockets, but it was just basically pictures of all the Texans players that were there as individuals. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like them supporting the Rockets the way the Astros were rocking Rockets jerseys, the way the Rockets be rocking Astros jersey. It was just DeAndre when he was doing the first shot. I think Merciless. It was JJ at a game. It was Tyron at a game, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily just, showing support like, oh, hey, look at us, we rocking the rock like that, man. So I'm like, we'll see. It is what it is. I'll take it. I'll take whatever it is, but we'll see if the love comes back. But I still don't believe like the other teams in this city really fuck with the Texans like that. I mean, they kind of still like the baby brother, I guess. Maybe that's the syndrome they getting them. But man, Wink, let me get a mark my words from you, and then Wise, we get a mark my words and score prediction from you too. And then like I said, we'll get ready to wind it up here shortly.
I say Harden gets 38. He's gonna score 38 points. He'll end up with like 5 boards. He'll have 4 steals and fuck it. He'll have 2 blocks on this punk. I said I end up being like 110 to like 99. Oh my bad. 121 to 99 Rockets.
Like he don't play defense because Harden good for 2 blocks. Like I mean, we seen in the playoffs that boy was going off. He's playing. That's why I say I don't see why the national media. He doesn't play defense. I mean, y'all still watching Rockets games from 5 years. I wonder if like the national media is watching Houston sports from 5 years ago because they just now seeing that Hopkins play with all these quarterbacks. They just now seeing all this old shit. Well, you know that's what's still going on in Houston. But again, it is what it is. But Wise man, let me get a mark my words and let me get a.
I'm gonna give you 2 mark my words. My first mark my words, Carmelo Anthony's gonna score 20 points while shooting 60% from the field. And then my second mark my words is that Clint Capella's gonna dunk on Anthony Davis. For my score prediction, I'm gonna have to say the Rockets is gonna score 124 to the Pelicans 108.
Here's my thoughts and here's my thinking because, again, the Rockets having another year together because people got to realize that was the first year that CP3 and Harden actually played, and it only got better as it went along, even with the injuries and things like that took place. You know, there was a lot of pieces that kind of moved around, bringing in Gerald Green and some other things kind of mid-season. I think that this year, especially them guys taking a trip going to was the Bahamas, I think they went to kind of have some team unity, getting together and figuring these things out. I think that this team is really bad. I think this team is really ready. I'm going to give a mark my words, man. I'm going to go out on a limb, man. I'm going to say that Carmelo Anthony will be the leading scorer tonight just to prove something to people. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I'm going to say that Carmelo will drop because I don't think it'll be too. I think Carmelo dropped 32 tonight. I'm gonna go with 32 from Carmelo, simply because I think that they're gonna want to get him acclimated. They're gonna want to feed him. They're gonna want to let him feel that Rocket system. He's gonna show people that he ain't necessarily got to drive in. He can shoot the 3. He's not tripping on that. I think. I don't know if I'm gonna give him as high a field goal percentage as Wise, but I'm gonna give him the 32, and I'm gonna say that the Rockets end up winning this thing. I think they get out early. I'm gonna call it 118. They're gonna lock down, play some defense. The only person who's gonna eat is gonna be Davis. I'm gonna say 118 to 97. I think the Rockets get this one away early, and gonna definitely smoke them. But man, you guys got anything y'all want to say before we get ready to get up out of here?
Nah, shout out to Sauce Nation. Appreciate y'all coming through. Y'all the real fans. Y'all stick with the Rockets and the Texans. In the Astros. Shout out to all those teams. Make sure y'all support those teams. Make sure y'all support all my brothers in the sauce. Go follow everybody's channel. Subscribe to everybody. Share this video on your social media outlets. Also, make sure y'all go subscribe to the Kush Den. The Kush Den is only 11 subscribers away from 500.
Oh, shit. I didn't even know that. Yeah, make sure y'all go show some love to the Den, man. You know what I'm saying? Shit, we're going to hold it down. We're going to talk about some crazy shit tonight. We talk about online dating tonight, so it should be very interesting. But Wink, you got anything you want to say before we slide up out of here?
Man, just to reiterate pretty much what I said, man. Just make sure y'all sharing these videos, man. Keep showing us love, man. We appreciate, being part of the plan, being the voice of Houston. And, we love the fact that y'all been in this process with us as long as y'all have, man. So from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate it. Make sure y'all just let 5 people know, about the channel, so we can bring in new subscribers, because not every Houston fan across the world gets to hear about Houston sports in a positive light. So if y'all could help aid us in that fact, we appreciate it.
That's what I say. A small bit goes a long way. For only 32 cents a day, you can feed a small African child. For only 5 shares a day, you can help stir up some sauce nationwide. You know what I'm saying? That's all we trying to do, man. It's just trying to take this thing to the next level. So we appreciate everybody who's been holding down, who's been fucking with the flavor since day one, who supports every channel. Again, links in the description box below. You check the feature channels. The links are there, so there's no excuses. You can get a double dose of info as far as trying to figure out how to find the other channels. So, don't make it difficult on yourself. All you got to do is click a couple of links. Again, like why I said, man, go and check out the Den. The Den, if you like to have a different conversation. I appreciate everybody who's come over to the den, man, because there's been some very interesting calls the last few nights from, talking about Kanye to talk about other things. And somehow we got to talk about BET Uncut last night. I don't even know how to. Oh, yeah, Jay, just shout out to Jay Dizzle with the crazy calls. I got some more Jay Dizzle calls to post. I got some more posts I'm going to be posting on the gram, some other good calls, man. But, yeah, we got to talk about.
I wasn't in the den, but that clip that you put on Instagram, bro, man, I 100%, man, Jay Dizzle, if you out there, bro, I could 100% agree with everything that you said, man. And then that part, because that was very much a good point. But at the end of the day, you can't preach that you want equality, but then when the shoe is on the other foot, you want to cry wolf, and then you want, we'll leave it up to the den. But at the end of the day, you see why you got to go in on these hoes sometimes.
Absolutely, man. Shit, it was females agreeing with that, man. So shit,
exactly, it was.
Day. So there's, that's the whole deal. So I got a couple. I see a lot of folks saying they feel like Carmelo gonna drop some change today. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But I got most of y'all on that. But here's the deal, man. We're gonna get up out of here. I know Brian's got stuff to do. Make sure y'all tune into the Rock. Make sure y'all check out the Astros. Support the city. Support the South. But with that being said, chunking up a deuce, man. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. We appreciate each and every one of y'all taking the time to fuck with the flavor. Y'all the freshest motherfucking ingredients in the world. With that being said, man, we out.